Well, welcome everyone to Music as a Journey. I'm Peter. Today I'm tackling the Canadian Stereotypes Tag, which was put out by Darryl at the Northern Vinyl Guy. This is a very interesting tag because it is based on a TV commercial that was popular, I guess, about 25 years ago or so. I mean, I've been in Japan for the last 25 years, but I certainly remember this TV commercial, and I remember there was a series of other commercials related to it, or maybe they were just spoofs. So this commercial was for a beer called Molson Canadian, and it was about a Canadian person going up and saying lots of stereotypes about Canada and Canadians and denying them all. And so what Darryl did was he took that commercial, and for each of the stereotypes, he created a prompt for a tag. Now, the very first video I saw in this tag was done by Jeff Witcher. He didn't respond to all of the prompts, but he made a very entertaining video. And one of the funny comments he made, which I thought about too before, he made at the beginning of his video was that Canadians in the VC really like to point out when a band is from Canada. I've thought about this before when I watch, other Canadians saying, here's a band from Canada. It's different than when, say, an American or, someone from Britain or another country says this band is from Canada. There's something about the way we Canadians introduce a band when they are from Canada. There's just something in the tone of voice. And Jeff was kind of making fun of this, like, why do we always have to announce that the band is from Canada? However, I have also noticed in the vinyl community when people talk about different albums, especially of bands that are not globally known, they usually do say where the band is from. If they're an American band, they'll often say the state or city. If they're not American, if they're from France or Norway or Scotland, people will usually say where they're from. So I don't think it's particularly unusual. But I really enjoyed Jeff's video. It was very humorous, of course. So on to the tag. It looks like Darryl has created 16 questions, and I have been putting a heck of a lot of work in my vinyl tag, way too much. So I'm going to just go through this one, hopefully without too much rambling, as I've already done. So let's get started. 16 prompts, and the very first one, there is a line in this person's speech where he says something like, I'm not a lumberjack or a fur trader. Gosh, I would like to do some Jeff Witcher editing right now and put in that Monty Python sketch. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. But we're not going to do that. So what Darryl is asking for this prompt is to show a folk album or a pioneer album or something along those lines. So I don't have a ton of folk stuff. I'm not even sure if half of the folk stuff that I have is really folk, but I will show, I guess this is actually the third album by Spirit of the West. It is their third album. It is their second major label album. This is called Labor Day. It is from 1988, and Spirit of the West started out as a folk trio, playing, I think one of the members is of Scottish ancestry or even may have immigrated to Canada from Scotland. Another one I think has some Irish ancestry, and the third one, well, his family name was Knutsen, which sounds pretty much Danish to me, but anyway, they would play these acoustic numbers on their first couple of albums. For this third album called Labor Day, Jay Knutsen left the band and Hugh McMillan joined. So what we've got on here are acoustic guitars, mandolins, some clean electric. There is a little bit of distortion in a couple of places, but more for atmospheric effect rather than rocking out, There's some accordion. We certainly get lots of woodwinds, like different types of Scottish type traditional flutes, I guess. And there's also the, what is it called? The bodhrán for percussion. It is a handheld drum that is tapped with like a stick on both sides. I think it's an Irish thing. My friend Nick in Wales may have mentioned that to me, but it is certainly used on this album. So Labor Day, there's some tracks on here I really enjoy, but the one I was listening to the other day I really love is called The Hounds That Wait Outside Your Door, which is track 4. But Dark Horse, Political, and Take It From the Source are also songs that I really like on this album. So because Canada is known for being a cold country, since we are, well, rather well northernly placed, the next prompt is to show something to do with cold, coldness, winter, snow, something like that. So this is a band called Kensington Market, and this CD reissue doesn't show the full album cover as it appeared on the original album. It is just a photo in very small size there. So I will put the full photo here so you can see. And as you can see, the 5 members are in a snowdrift and with snow in their hair and this kind of thing. So Kensington Market was a band that existed for, they had 2 albums in the 1960s. I would say, without really knowing, I hear people talk about Baroque rock, and I don't really know exactly what that sounds like, but I'm guessing maybe some of the songs here are that kind of Baroque style. There's a lot of clean electric guitar. Yeah, it's not quite psychedelic. Let's call it Baroque. I could be wrong. But yes, they released 2 albums. This is one of them. It's not really quite what I'm into, but I felt it was something I should have, and I am interested in getting the second one because there's a song on there that I think is the first track that actually sounds rather ahead of its time. Kensington Market, by the way, is a place in Toronto, so they took their name from that. Okay, so there you go. Cold. So prompt number 3 is to show something to do with a Jimmy, Sally, or Susie, because in the speech in the commercial, the person speaking says, no, I don't know Jimmy, Sally, or Susie, but I'm sure they're all really nice. And this is because when Canadians travel to the US and are speaking to Americans, they say, where are you from? And you say, oh, I'm from Canada. They go, oh, I have a cousin named Sue in Toronto. Maybe you know her. Like, somehow just Canadians might just happen to know other Canadians that Americans know, even if we live like several flight hours apart, different ends of the country. Maybe a lot of Americans just don't really have that concept exactly how broad the country is, although they certainly know about their own country that way. Anyway, the prompt is to show something to do with a Jimmy, a Sally, a Susie, a Tom, a Harry Dick, a Dick or a Harry or a Joe or something like that. So I'm going to show the Rankin family from their second album, Fare Thee Well, Love. They're a band. It's a family. It's all brothers and sisters here. They were from Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia. And one of the fellows here, there he is. This is Jimmy Rankin. And Jimmy Rankin takes the lead vocals on 2 or 3 of the tracks here. Certainly the opening track, Orangedale Whistle, which I listened to the other day. Again, love that track. That is such a beautiful, beautiful track. It is. I actually saw the Rankin family live once because a girl I was dating was the one who introduced them to me. And we went to see them in concert, which was really great. But I remember Jimmy Rankin was explaining that there is a town on Cape Breton Island, which we visited, called Orangedale. And there used to be a railroad passing through Orangedale. But, you know, as time went by, they brought roads and cars in. They didn't need the train to go there anymore. And so the Orangedale Whistle to announce the arrival of the train wasn't necessary anymore. So it's kind of a song about changing times, and you know, the whistle shrill still lingers on in the hearts of everyone. Beautiful song. Love the piano solo. And that is Jimmy Rankin with his brothers and sisters here. John Rankin, by the way, tragically passed away in a motor vehicle accident. His truck rolled off the highway. I think it was in the St. Lawrence River Valley, possibly. And yeah, he was tragically killed. But his daughter now is the main woman behind the band Always. So if you've heard of Always and you know the person who's doing the lead vocals and that is John Rankin's daughter. Okay, prompt number 3. See, I'm rambling. I always got a story to tell for each one. A record or song about a politician or about a cause. Sorry, I don't remember what happened in the commercial related to this, but I want to mention 2. So first of all, this is just a download single. Just going to point that out there by my favorite band. And related to American presidents, this is the first solo album by Jeff Martin, who at the time was recently departed from the Tea Party, which were a very popular band in Canada and actually also in Australia too in the 1990s and early 2000s. He left the band, he went off to Ireland, and he recorded a studio album there, which is this one here, The Exile in the Kingdom. And the opening track is called World is Calling, which is an open letter to George Bush Jr., who was in office at the time. And this is because the Tea Party and Jeff Martin, they had a strong connection with the Middle East and also Morocco and India. Like they traveled to those countries, they picked up the instruments that they used there, they learned how to play them, and they incorporated those instruments into their music. And they have friends, people they know, or people they know who have families there. So with all that the US was doing in the Middle East, I think this is a cry out to say, like, you know, their children dying, their mothers are crying, and the world is calling, it's calling you. It is a really hefty song. Like most of the songs in here are acoustic, featuring a lot of those exotic instruments, but that one there, it's got an orchestra, it's got heavy guitars, very, very powerful track. I love it. It's a great, great song. So that is World is Calling, which was an open letter to George Bush Jr. So prompt number 5 is to show a duolingual album, so 2 different languages, or an album in French, because in Canada we have 2 official national languages, English and French. I think Darryl pointed out that most of us Canadians are not bilingual. We speak one or the other, and then we learn the other in school and then promptly forget about it again. So I want to show 2 different albums. First, for the French part, I want to show a band called Pollen. This is a progressive rock band from the 1970s. I believe they only ever released this one album, but it is pretty cool. I think the singer's vocals are adequate. They're not superb, but the music is pretty cool. All this like crazy like Moog synthesizers and, you know, electric guitars, pretty much inspired by the English prog scene, but with a French twist to it. So I find a lot of the progressive rock bands from the 1970s in Quebec almost sound more like Italian prog bands of the 70s, even though they were heavily inspired by the British prog bands. And this is one of them, Pollen. My favorite track on here is called Vive la Mort, Long Live Death. That's a really cool one. So for French, all French lyrics. And then for a bilingual one, I want to show a band I got into last year. This is a band from Iqaluit in the Nunavut territory. This is a band called the Jerry Cans. This is their 3rd album, Inusik, which is, if you can, I don't know how well this is going to show up because I'm looking at the actual camera side of the phone, not the screen side. But these lyrics are all written in Inuktitut, and the lyrics are mostly sung in Inuktitut, but there are some English lyrics in bits and pieces here. The very first track, I don't remember how to read the name, Ukiuk. Anyway, that means Northern Lights, and there's an English version at the bottom here, which is exactly the same song, just sung in English. I really like this band. They are like a folk and country rock band with a little bit of old style rock and roll in places on their first 3 albums. And of course, it's actually a group of white folks with the singer having learned how to sing and write songs in Inuktitut. But there is a woman on here, Nancy Mike, who is a native Inuit person who does the throat singing and some of the female vocals. She left after this album, though, and the album that came after this, they got a different person in whose name I haven't learned yet. That 4th album called Echoes has a really different style. Like, it's a really kind of big production, alternative rock type album, but still keeping the Inuktitut lyrics and the Inuit presence in the music. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is this is a dual language album, Inuktitut and English. Okay, there we go. Talking way too much here. This is why my videos always go so long. So the next one is about this stereotype that Canadians can't say about. We don't say about, we say aboot for some reason. Everybody knows that Canadians say about. No, that's my American friend in Buffalo. He says that we say about. He goes, how about that, eh? And when we exchange messages. No, we don't say aboot. Okay, I had a substitute teacher in English in grade 10. he was from Scotland. And that fella, he said a boot when he was talking. And it was really fun because we got him to read Robbie Burns, the one of Mice and Men. We sleek it cowran timorous beastie, oh what a panic's in thy breastie. That one there, we got him to read it out, and it was just fabulous. And it was just interesting that this tall, thin guy with a bit of a beaky nose and glasses, dressed in kind of 80s not hipster, but just kind of like hip fashion. He was such a celebrity in the class because of his Scottish accent. We loved it. He actually substituted my French class one time too. I remember that. So today we're going to learn about the avoir verb. Lovely. Anyway, what was I saying? What am I talking about here? A boot. That's right. So we don't say a boot. We say about, for heaven's sake. And actually, honestly, I have lost a lot of my Canadian accent. I know, because every time I go back to Canada and I meet people that I haven't met before, I go back to my hometown where I grew up, where I spent 24 years of my life. And people ask me, so where are you from? It's from teaching English in Japan. All these years, I have to change how I speak so I'm easy to understand. Anyway, Darryl wants us to show some boots or some footwear or something like that on the cover. So here's Lee Aaron, radio on, and here she is wearing some like animal fur pattern type boots. Lee Aaron, gotta love her. Yeah, this is a really cool album, and there is a song on here called Come On. There's a video for this. Excellent, fun, happy, danceable, great melodic, I don't know, just wonderful, fun pop rock song. Really, really cool. So that is Lee Aaron wearing some boots. How boot that, eh? All right. What's up next? We want an album cover that is predominantly red and white, or that has a maple leaf on it. So we're going to take a look at this 70s band called Moonquake. The opening track on here called Remember is really, really good. But I listened to another track on here called Tomorrow. Damn, that was really good too. And this one has a bonus track, which was called Bang Bang Baby. Man, that's also really good. This is a really good album. So we're going to take a look here. There's the moon. The band is called Moonquake. And there's some kind of like little like moonlander type vessel thing here. And I don't know when this is going to go out of focus, but I hope at some point or another you will see that there is a maple leaf on there. I'm going to go behind the phone here to take a look at the screen, and see. Can you see? There's some glare on here too. Oh, look. There we go. My reflection is in the CD case. There we go. All right. I think you got the point. There's a maple leaf on that thing. So there we go. That is for prompt number 7. Prompt number 8 asks us to show an album, a band, a song that has something to do with peace. Because in that person's speech in the commercial, he says, I believe in peacekeeping, not policing. For example, Canada would never go to another country, arrest their president, take them back to Canada and put them on trial for crimes, and then choose who the new president will be. We don't pull that kind of shit. So a song that has something to do with peace. Here is a band called Borealis, and track number 6 on this album is called My Peace. This is a power metal band. I don't remember where they're from. Somewhere in Ontario, I think. But yeah, track number 6 is My Peace. So there you go for the peace bit. Peace, bro. Prompt number 9 asks for a multi-ethnic or multinational band, because in that speech there is something about, I believe, in celebrating diversity and not assimilation. So I want to talk about the band Kitty. And Kitty have had quite a number of members coming and going. It is basically Morgan and Mercedes Lander, the Lander sisters there, who have been the same members right from the very beginning. And then there have been a number of members coming and going. And I'd like to mention some of the ones here. Originally, here she is right here. I'll show a picture. This is Fallon Bowman. She is a South African Canadian woman. She played guitar. Then when the original bass guitarist Tanya Chandler left, a woman named Talina Atfield came in. She is an Indigenous woman. After leaving Kitty, she went on to play in some other bands, actually with Fallon Bowman, actually. And then she retired from music altogether, got a degree in anthropology, and now she's doing something with Indigenous awareness I've forgotten exactly, but Talena Atfield, an Indigenous woman. After Talena Atfield left the position of bass player, a woman named Jennifer Arroyo became the new bass player. She was American. And at the same time, they got a new American guitarist in. But unfortunately, the band ran into financial difficulties. The Lander sisters couldn't afford to pay the others, so they left. Jennifer left amicably. And once they got their stuff together and got things going again, they hired a new bass player by the name of Trish Doan. Trish was born in Korea. She was Korean and then, Korean Canadian. Very sadly, very tragically, Trish later on suffered from depression and she took her own life about some 10, 12 years ago now. But she was, Korean Canadian. And then the bass player who took over after Trish left the band was a Serbian-born woman. Her name now is Ivy Jenkins. I think it's from Ivana, shortened to Ivy. And Jenkins is the name of her husband, who is an American musician. She plays in her husband's band as well. So we have quite a number of different ethnic backgrounds and national backgrounds in the band Kitty. So I think that is pretty cool. The video goes on to mention something about various animals like moose and beaver. I think it says something like the beaver is a noble animal. So Darryl is asking us to show an album cover that has some animal on it, particularly a noble one. So I want to show an album by a power metal band out of Edmonton called Ravenous. There is, of course, some character here with a raven skull, but down in the foreground, we have some wolves, if you can see that, if it's not too glaring or reflecting. I think it's reflection we're worried about. So there are some wolves on the cover of this. And just because I have cats in this house, as some of you probably know, I thought I'd show Danko Jones' Wild Cat for the cat feature. Also a noble animal. My cats are noble. Anyway, moving along. Let's see here. Number 11 is talk about a toque as a hat and a Chesterfield as a couch. Now, when I grew up, we called them Chesterfields. I later on learned that there's a word that is couch and there's also a word that is sofa. And I honestly don't know exactly what the difference is, but we called them Chesterfields when I was a kid. So he wants us to show something either with a toque or some kind of headwear or something to do with a couch, a sofa, or Chesterfield. So this is a band called Hocus Pick. They were originally called Hocus Pick Maneuver for their first two albums. And this is their second one. Later, they changed their name to Hocus Pick. They were a Christian rock band from Richmond, British Columbia. And there is a song on this second album of theirs. It's called Sofa Logic. And I want to show you a clip from the video. Hopefully, I'm recording this before I've looked, but hopefully I can find the clip of the video on YouTube and I can show you here. There is a sofa shown throughout the whole video, which was filmed on Burnaby Mountain, where Simon Fraser University is. So there are lots of scenes of driving on Burnaby Mountain or moving around on Burnaby Mountain near Simon Fraser University with a sofa. So there we go. Sofa. Chesterfield. Whatever you want to call it. Okay, prompt number 12 says to show a band name that starts with A and a band name that starts with Z. And I think it's because, of course, in Canada, like everywhere else in the world, well, okay, not everywhere else in the world, but, all English-speaking countries outside of the US, we say Z. I think it's because it's originally Z from English, and it's originally Zeta or Zeta or whatever from Greek. So always the short E sound anyway, Z, Zeta, Z, whatever. And in the US, for some reason, I guess to make it rhyme in the alphabet song, they changed it to Z. I don't know what the reason was, but whatever. Canada, of course, we're bilingual. We understand Z and Z. We're not confused, okay? But we just like to say Z to rub into the fact that we're on the side with the British and the Australians and the New Zealanders and the Irish and the South Africans and everybody else. But anyway, and then of course Canadians are known for saying A, which I don't really do so much anymore because I don't have the accent for saying A anymore. And every time I try to do like a Bob and Doug McKenzie impersonation, I can't get it right. But then again, they were from Ontario. I was from British Columbia, so it's not the same thing. So anyway, starting with an artist that starts with A, this is an artist from Nunavut called Asiva. I just managed to get a hold of this last year and picked it up when I visited my mom in November. This is the only copy of this CD that I could find in the entire internet. She is Inuit artist, and she plays ukulele. And she does a kind of really, it's like a modern day pop with ukulele, some English, some Inuktitut, and some traditional throat singing. I actually really like her sound. It's not what I would normally buy, but I really like this. So she has 2 A's in the name Asiva. So that is for A. And then for the Z, I'm going with an atmospheric doom metal band called Zaum from New Brunswick. I think they have 3 albums out. They did when I bought this one 5 years ago. They had 3 albums out. So yeah, just 3 tracks. We got one that's 18 minutes and something long, and then 8 minutes long and 13 minutes long. Just long, slow songs with slow, heavy riffs, male, female vocals, not too gruff, and some exotic other instruments. There's some woodwinds you can hear. I think there's some violin, but it's being played in these really slow, moaning, drawn out notes. So yeah, if you like your very slow, heavy, atmospheric stuff, Zaum from New Brunswick. So that is our A to Z. Going on to 13, show a song that mentions a Canadian geographical place or feature. So ignoring the little sticker here from Werewolf Records, I just put it in the plastic case here so I don't lose it. This says of Surrey. This is a band called No Fun. They are from the city of Surrey in British Columbia, which is where I grew up. And I picked up their stuff, it was back in 2024 now, and I did a video about them. I used to know 2 of the members in the band. They worked in a record store where I bought some stuff sometimes. Anyway, this is called Of Surrey because this is a white album. And there's a joke that they are the Beatles of Surrey. So if it's the white album, it must be the Beatles, but this is Of Surrey. And that is the joke. And there is a song on here that is called Let's Go to Surrey Today, which I also featured in that video I did about the band. Okay, so that is No Fun and Let's Go to Surrey Today, because No Fun are the Beatles of Surrey. Cool. Next is prompt number 14. Show an album cover or song lyric that depicts a Canadian sports team, because of course we're known for hockey. So the reason why I'm showing the Shuffle Demons is because the opening track on this album is Hockey Night in Canada. Shuffle Demons are a streetnik band. They call themselves streetniks. They're all like basically saxophones and drums. I think there might be some stand-up bass in there as well. Yes, stand-up bass, drums, and saxophones. So they did Hockey Night in Canada. They play the theme for Hockey Night in Canada. And in one part, they actually play just kind of like somebody is doing the commentary for a game, and they're talking about, it's an old style one because it's from when I was growing up. So there's like Bob Gainey and Darryl Sittler, and it's the Canadians versus the Maple Leafs, and the saxophones are playing in a way that is supposed to mimic the movement of the players on the ice. And of course, because they're from Toronto, Darryl Sittler scores a goal for Toronto. Hooray. Anyway, so there's Hockey Night in Canada. It is the very first track. I don't know if you can see that, but there we go. And then just because I couldn't find that, I picked a different one instead. This is the Best of Helix from 1983 to 2012. And there is an extra track on here. The very last one is All I Want for Christmas is the Leafs to win the cup, meaning the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup, because I think they haven't won it since 62 or 63 or something like that. So Helix being from near Toronto anyway, they want the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup. Because it wouldn't happen at Christmas, though. It would happen in June. But anyway, there we go. That's for hockey. Prompt number 15. The 24th album in your collection, or a song that has beer or whiskey or something in it. So because it's a beer commercial, I decided to go with this band called Terrifier and their album Weapons of Thrash Destruction. They are a thrash metal band from Kelowna, British Columbia. And there is a song on here called Drunk as... Well, actually, it's just called... it's called DAF, which stands for Drunk as... You can probably guess what the F stands for. And let me see if I can find the lyrics. So the chorus goes, raise your beer. Come on, get it up, slam it down till the glass is clear. Drunk as fuck. We're gonna party all night till the fucking sun comes up. There you go. That is the song DAF from Terrifier from their Weapons of Thrash Destruction album, which mentions beer. I also had in mind to show a song by a band called Striker. They have a song called The Keg That Crushed New York because Striker feature beer in a lot of their music videos. Coming to the end then, prompt number 16 says to show a thankful, apologetic, or polite something or another. Because at the end of the person's speech, which becomes more and more passionate as he goes on, he finishes off by saying, quite modestly, thank you. So, two things I'm going to show. One is from the Bare Naked Ladies' third album, Born on a Pirate Ship. You're supposed to say it as, I was born on a pirate ship. What did that sound like? Anyway, whatever. That's why the kid's making this face. But there's a song on here called Break Your Heart. And the full line goes, I didn't mean to break your heart. Doesn't exactly say sorry, but sounds somewhat apologetic. And I remember I saw the Bare Naked Ladies perform at a Canada Day concert in 1994. They did a song called I'm in Love with a McDonald's Girl, which as far as I know has never been on any of their albums. And then after that, they announced this song, Break Your Heart. This is from 1996, so the album hadn't come out yet. And they said this next song is called I Didn't Mean to Break Your McBleep, which was a joke. First of all, the Mick was in reference to the McDonald's Girl song that they had just sung. And the bleep part was in reference to a comedy show on television in the 1980s called Bizarre, a sketch comedy show. And always the swear words were being censored out intentionally with a car horn. So every time somebody was meant to swear in their dialogue, a car horn would go off. So this, I didn't mean to break your McBleep, was a joke on those two things. Anyway, I didn't mean to break your heart. And it's actually a pretty powerful ballad too. And I really love Scott Page. He almost like screams his head off in one part, which is pretty cool. And then the other one, just to say thank you. This is from Sloan, my favorite band, from their 1998 album Navy Blues. And there's a track on here called I Want to Thank You. Sloan had some difficulties with the David Geffen label, and they moved off to BMG, the BMG label. I think a division of BMG called Enclave or something like that. And things were going quite well. Things were looking up, and then Enclave ran out of money. And so I Want to Thank You exactly addresses that. Like, I want to thank you for all you've done. Too bad there's no more money. The next part is so funny. So anyway, Jay Ferguson, one of the 4 members of the band and also one of the 4 singers in the band and one of the 4 songwriters in the band, he wrote a song to say thank you to BMG for all they had done for the band. And that's it. Those are the 16 prompts. Those are my answers. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll put the link to Darryl's video below. I might also put the one to Jeff Witcher's below because it's fun. It's fun to watch. And I think some other Canadians like Racer Records, Joe has done one, and probably there are a few others. There's some people I'm looking forward to seeing. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and I will be doing the metal tag next. This was the Canadian Stereotypes Tag by Darryl at the Northern Vinyl Guy. See you around, folks. Bye.